all of your work in helping get this organized from this point. This is such a beautiful space, and I'm really honored to be here today to talk about medical cannabis. And I'm going to start by telling you guys this. I am an extremely shy person, and I don't particularly like the color red. And I was raised in an extremely conservative family during the Just Say No to Drugs era. And I pretty much took that message to heart, and to this day, I have yet to have ever smoked marijuana. So this is a little bit hard to see, but at this point you're probably wondering a little bit about why a very shy person wearing a dress, a red dress, would be standing on a stage in front of a picture of a pot leaf. Well, my answer is simple, and my answer is this. This is my 9-year-old daughter, Mary Louise, and she has intractable epilepsy. And I have been saying for quite some time, I am just a mom with a chronically ill child who is fighting for safe and legal access to medicine that I know will improve her quality of life. Mary Louise started having seizures as a baby. She wasn't actually diagnosed until just before her 2nd birthday, but from very early on, we noticed that she wasn't progressing at the same rate as her twin brother, Winfield. We were fortunate that we had something to compare her to. So we did start seeing specialists early on, but like I said, she didn't get her diagnosis of epilepsy until she was almost 2. And when that happened, I was actually kind of relieved, because I thought, okay, this is great. We'll get her on medication, we'll get her seizures under control, and she's going to start progressing at a normal rate. Well, we tried the first medication with some mild success, but it certainly was not a home run. Then we tried another medication, which actually made her seizures much worse. And then another medication, and then combinations of the first medication and the last medication. And then we tried a very high dose of the first medication, because that's the one that kind of worked a little bit. And with that, she lost what few words she had and her entire ability to communicate. And to this day is still nonverbal. So what happens with people with epilepsy, typically after the 2nd or 3rd pharmaceutical drug, the likelihood of finding another drug that will be effective in treating those seizures is less than 5%. And at that point, that particular condition is called intractable. And Mary Louise at one point was having 800 to 1,000 seizures a day. We counted 200 in an hour and kind of quit counting. So her condition is very severe, and it severely disrupts her quality of life. So my journey into medical cannabis advocacy actually started in 2013 when her neurologist told us that there were absolutely no other possibilities of a treatment for her. No other pharmaceutical drugs. She was not a surgical candidate. We tried diets with no success. We'd seen specialists up and down the coast, and there really wasn't much else that they could do for her. Fortunately, very shortly after that, I saw a special on CNN by Dr. Sanjay Gupta called Weed. And he talked about a little girl named Charlotte out in Colorado whose seizures were being treated successfully using marijuana. And I thought, marijuana? What? Yeah, this is why this made national news, right? Because this is just a fluke, a freak thing, an anomaly. Well, I started looking into it because it seemed very convincing, and started reaching out to parents who had gone to Colorado for this treatment. And not only were they talking about the success and the decrease of seizures in their children, they were also talking about what a lot of parents describe as an awakening, where the children are suddenly so much more alert, and they're just coming out of those drug-induced stupors that they have been in for many, many years. So we started looking into the possibility of taking her out there for treatment. I mean, it's far away, but I thought, okay, we can go out there and get this medication. But because of federal laws, cannabis is, it's federally illegal, and basically every state is an island. So you would literally have to move to Colorado, become a resident of Colorado, leave our family and friends back here in South Carolina in order to get this treatment. And not only that, but there was a 10-month waiting list. So the possibility of making the move to Colorado just didn't seem to make sense for us. Well, fortunately, my mother-in-law lived down in Beaufort. And in Beaufort, they have a wonderful senator, Senator Tom Davis. And they had a mutual friend, and she shared Mary Louise's story and told him about how other states were legalizing this particular type of cannabis derivative. It's actually called cannabidiol, or CBD. And it was the non-psychoactive form, is how they were plugging it, I guess. And so shortly after the conversation with my mother-in-law, Harriet, and Senator Davis, the CBD bill was born and introduced. We were fortunate that that bill actually was passed and signed into law by Governor Nikki Haley on June 2nd, 2014. However, what the bill did was it allowed for patients with difficult-to-treat epilepsy to possess CBD oil as long as they had a letter from their doctor stating that they had such a condition and that they might benefit from this type of treatment. So I had my letter, but I didn't have my CBD oil. And like I said, we couldn't just go out to Colorado and get it. We had to change our residency, 10-month waiting list, and we thought, oh gosh, there were parents that have already gone out there, maybe they'll be kind and share. But it was so difficult to get out there even, that nobody was going to spare a drop of their child's oil to help another one. Plus they had made the move, So what happened was we started networking with patients in other states that had recently passed similar types of laws. And we went underground. We went on the black market. And we were getting CBD oil from sources that were less than reliable. We had products that we didn't really know how they were manufactured, what was really in them. The very first CBD oil I gave my daughter was called Sunflower Power. And I wish I'd saved the bottle now. Had a big sunflower on the front. But it just is not the way we should be getting medicine for our family members and our loved ones. We were sold CBD oil at very, very high prices, mind you. Some of those oils didn't have a single traceable amount of CBD even in them. So this was clearly a problem. And so what we figured out was that what we need is in-state cultivation, and we need a program that provides safe, controlled, regulated products for patients. And then looking past CBD, that's just one component of the cannabis plant. And what we learned in research, and also actually Senator Davis and I served on a medical marijuana study committee, and we heard testimony from all over the state. And what I learned was cannabis treatment wasn't just beneficial for patients with epilepsy, but it's also beneficial for many different types of illnesses. Cancer, MS, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's. I'm sure Dr. Nagarkoti can elaborate a little bit more too, but many different types of illnesses can benefit from cannabis treatment. But not just CBD. Many patients need the whole plant, including THC, and that's one thing that is important to note, is that THC, that we think of as being something that's bad for us, can also be good for us if it's used in the right way. So, I continued to learn and educate myself, and I also continued to network with some of those patients that I met along the way. And from that, South Carolina Compassionate Care Alliance was born. Because you have to remember, I am just a mom with a chronically ill child fighting for safe, legal access to medicine that I know will improve her quality of life. But I'm just one mom. And what I've learned is that, or what I started thinking is, if I'm one mom in Charleston, there's probably another mom in Columbia, and another mom in Greenville, and another mom in Beaufort, and another mom in Hartsville, and more patients and more patients. You'll do the next slide. And more patients around the state. Can you do the next one? So, these are the faces of Compassionate Care Alliance. We are your friends, your neighbors, and your co-workers. We are members of the PTA, members of your churches, and members of your community. And we stand together with one mission, which is to bring legal access to medical cannabis in a safe and regulated way to the state of South Carolina. These are advocates like Sergeant Brent Jessmer from Seneca, who fought for our country in Iraq and is currently suffering from PTSD and chronic pain due to injuries sustained in combat. These are advocates like my friend, entrepreneur Rosie Craig, who has enhanced the city of Columbia through her love of the arts and restoration. And these are advocates like Dr. Amanda McNabb from Somerville, whose daughter Allie died just a week before her 10th birthday. They were out in Colorado, 2,000 miles away from her family and friends, and the treatment that they sought there was too little, too late. 29 states, plus the District of Columbia, currently have comprehensive medical cannabis laws. However, patients here in South Carolina are basically left with three choices. They can either treat illegally and risk arrest or risk losing the children that they're actually fighting to save. They can contemplate a costly move to a state where cannabis treatment is actually legal. However, they've got to leave behind their friends, their family members, their support systems. Or patients in South Carolina can stay here and continue to suffer. And these are choices that no patient or caregiver should be forced to make. The war on drugs, specifically the war on marijuana, is a war on families. We're tired of watching our loved ones suffer. We're tired of watching people's lives being destroyed over a beneficial and often life-saving plant. The motto of our state is, "Where I breathe, I hope." But where is the hope for the patients of South Carolina? It's up there in Columbia in the hands of 170 politicians who think that they, and not the patients' caregivers, are the ones who should be making medical decisions for patients. It is really time for change, and it is time for everyone here to get involved to make that happen. The only way change is going to happen is for individuals like every single one of you to reach out to your legislators and let them understand the importance of a medical cannabis program in our state. Of the people, by the people, for the people. Those words don't mean a thing without the people. I am just a mom with a chronically ill child fighting for legal and safe access to medicine that I know will help improve her quality of life. And I hope every one of you will join me. I would also like to add that if you're interested in being involved in our advocacy efforts, we have advocacy pamphlets out in the foyer. If you didn't get one when you came in, please grab one on the way out. And for more information, you can go to our website, www.sccompassion.com. And now,